dealing with the other side of him, of this teenage boy who was loved for the first time. And you're trying to figure out, will the two guys get together at the end? Almost like a love story. But you're also trying to figure out, will the two sides of him, more importantly, come together in the fact that he's just African-American and gay at the same time. Even that blending is a part of, you're wondering, will that come together? Then you have Manchester by the Sea. Here again, you have a guy who's going back to his birth home. Like, he's got two homes. So again, another movie about two homes. He's living in Boston, right outside of Boston, and yet he's being called to this birth home, just like Lion, and just like it is in Moonlight. And you'll find out later in Hell or High Water, this idea of birth home. But he goes back to Manchester by the Sea, and in doing that, he's dealing with a lot of his past and some mistakes he's made there in his past. And but he has to decide whether he's going to be a guardian to his nephew, who's there and who wants to go to school there and stay there and grow up there. And this is where he's grown up. But Casey Affleck's character doesn't want to stay in Manchester because of the past pain. And so the choice between home and the choice, which home he's going to choose, as well as will these two guys come together, which is this nephew and Casey Affleck's character, will they come together almost like in a love story too in the end?
And it costs him something to go back. That there is that other piece where all of these people have to step into their home, but it costs them something, whether it's pain or worrying about rejection or even facing the truth.
Exactly.
It still costs them.
Yeah, and there's just a huge stakes around home, if that makes sense, as well as these two sides. And then finally, Hell or High Water, I would say, you've got two brothers and the sheriff, so you could stretch it and say, well, there's just these two opposing forces. But I do believe that's like most films, that kind of thing. I think the big thing that stands out for me there is really for the sake of the home. You do have two different characters in the brothers, and you're kind of asking the question, will they be together at the end? You also have Chris Pine's character's family, and you wonder whether he's going to get with them in the end. But at the end of the day, it's really not, the movie's really not about that. It really is about for the sake of the home. So we're in this climate in Hell or High Water where you're looking at an America that's falling apart, sort of what we imagine as very desolate, and yet they're fighting. When you find out what they're doing in the movie, they're fighting for the sake of the home and a future for their children.
And they're very different. Even the brothers are very different. You get this real sense that they're not the same. They don't think the same. They don't act the same. They don't choose things the same, but they're willing to fight for this one thing in common. For the sake
of the home.
Yes.
Right? And it's also, I think that movie more than anything is speaking into the future. Like at the end, spoiler alert, at the end, he's doing it for the sake of his children. He makes sure that they have a financial future for the home that they will have in the future. So it's really about, to me, this movie is about, will we, ultimately become a we for the sake of the next generation, and specifically their finances, as we move forward. I mean, how many people are talking about the fact that we're leaving this next generation high and dry, or hell and high water, with regard to financial stuff.
Right.
And so this is a movie in which they actually take that straight on. And then finally, the last one, which is La La Land, you'd be going, well, what is, it's really quite obvious that the whole movie we're asking whether this guy and this girl will be together, right?
Yes.
We want to know those two sides, whether they'll be together. But really, if we ask what this movie is about, there's two more sides to it. And, well, let me reverse that a little bit and just rewind that a little bit and say, the director actually messes with us and gives us two versions.
I know. That was a huge fight.
So there's not only two people we want to be in love and will they come together, but there's also two versions of them coming together.
Yes.
Right? And there's also the aspect of, it's really not about that as much as two, again, ideologies of love and ambition, of whether they can coexist together too, And I think that question is a very relevant question. I think that there is an ideology around ambition with America, putting America first right now and making America great. That, to me, is a very ambitious side of America versus, let's take the refugee situation right now. That's very much a choosing love first in relationship to our we. in our homeland. And of course, this is a little bit loose, but it is called La La Land, so it is set in a specific home, and it is definitely celebrating the concept of Hollywood and Los Angeles. And I wouldn't say it's for the sake of their home that they are becoming a we, or will they become a we, but it is in relationship to their home, which is the title of the movie. I mean, I could go on and on and on just about little things in each of these movies that just express this even more. I mean, just one thing is that there are so many fathers and mothers and brothers, and I mean, it really is about family. A lot of these movies are just about family in relationship to each other. So, I just think it's a wonderful picture of America and the concept of us as a family, and will we ultimately be a we?
Oh, this is the part of my job I hate. I just want to go on, and we're out of time for today. So we'll have to end here. But wow, lots to think about and lots to share. And even I'm going to have to go back and watch some of these films and think about them in light of the conversation of the question of home and we. So please come back and join us on Real Conversations next time, where Bryan has so graciously shown us what the question is about home and we. But now we're going to get to find out next time how do we do this? How do we become a we? And how do we go forward as a country, personally and as a whole, as a family, going forward? How do we use these Oscar movies to kind of show us where we need to be and how to do it? So please come back and join us next time for Real Conversations. Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining us for Real Conversations. If you happen to be in the Atlanta area and would like to explore what your top 10 movies say about you, you can get real by going to realexperiences.com and book an experience. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Real by Art Within.